Head over to miniaturemarket.com. I have thousands of board games at discounted prices like Something Wild. Something Wild is an easy family card game that has multiple different possible themes like Mickey and Friends, Aladdin, Toy Story, and many more. What you're trying to do is score 3 times, and you'll score by having 3 of the same number or run of 3 cards in consecutive order. But the trick of this game is when you play a card as the same color as the power card, you get that character and you get to use the power, like scoring with any 3 odd cards. So in this case, we'd get to score. And now you have this power for good, so anytime you have Woody, you can use this power or the general power in the middle that nobody yet owns. But you have to time it right, because if other players play colors that are here, they'll take Woody from you and they'll be able to use powers and not you, and you'll need to play this power in order to get it back to use other powers. And whoever scores 3 times first is the winner. Now you can play with multiple different sets, either individually or together, combining them as one huge deck and multiple different power cards with different characters. Playing certain cards will bring you certain characters and using certain powers for that character, giving the game an additional level of depth. Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Something Wild has themes that appeal to mass market and many themes to choose from and more coming out all the time. This is great for the Uno crowd, those that play Uno and maybe anything more complex than that. You're creating different kinds of sets of runs or a lot of the same number. You're playing specific colors to gain the figure of that set to give you different powers. The more powers you get, the more things that you get done, the more power options you have. Things really ramp up in this game. You can mix sets from multiples of these to have a big, huge, giant game of this, which still is about medium complexity, but it makes the decision tree more interesting for gamers. On the negative side of things, some of the rules are a little ambiguous on some of the cards, especially when mixing sets, and you probably want to get multiples of these sets to keep things interesting. But if you're looking for a light game that's great for sort of mass market appeal, but you can add multiple sets at the same time to make it even more interesting and more gamer-like, then you'll want to check out Something Wild. Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here, and today we're going to be diving into universes that you're probably familiar with, like Toy Story and Aladdin and Mickey and Minnie. Today we're taking a look at a family-level card game called Something Wild. These are ones that can be played by themselves or together. Let me show you how these easy games are played, and we'll see you on the other side. Now, over the course of the game, you're going to be drawing cards and playing cards into your tableau, and you're trying to score. First one to score 3 times wins, and you score by either creating a set of 3 of the same numbers, like 3 ones, doesn't matter what colors they are, or a set of 3 numbers that are sort of incremental by 1. So a 2, 3, 4, for example, but these need to be the same color. So either one of these 2 types of things, you'll be scoring, and that's what you're trying to do. Now, there is a draw deck, there is the Mickey character, and there is a power deck. We'll talk about this later. Turns are very simple. Everyone starts with 3 cards in their hand, then they're going to draw a card off the top of the deck, then they're going to play one. So it's my turn, I drew a card, and I play this Pluto in front of me. Then it'd literally be the next player's turn. They draw a card, they play one. Then it comes back to us. Say we draw a card, and let's say we play another one. So let's say we play this one, a purple Pluto. We're going for the set that has 3 sevens, or 3 Plutos, if you will. Now let's say everyone else takes a turn, it comes back to us, we draw a card, we're going to play a card. Now let's say we play this. Now notice that this card is a certain color, right? It's green. And if the color you played matches the color on the top of the power, you can take the Mickey figure. Now if it's in the middle, you take it from the middle, so it's ours. If another player has it, you take it from them. Then, at this point of your turn, you can use a power. And right now, the only power that we can see is the one that's here. So, because we have Mickey, we can use this power. Right now, this says, treat 8s as any number. Well, great. We did this to get Mickey, and now we can treat this 8 as any number. We say it's a 7, and now we have 7, 7, 7, and we score. This is great. We would discard these cards. We score, and how we track this is we take this card, and we play it next to us. This one flips up, and now the next player that plays a red card will be able to take Mickey from us, or if it's us, we keep Mickey. Now, let's say other players took turns, and let's just say it's our turn again. So let's say we draw a card and we play Goofy, number 6. Now, we have the character. No one else took it from us. Again, someone would have to play a red to take this from us, but because nobody did, we still have it. When you have the character, after you play a card, you can use a power that you've already gotten or one in the middle. So I could use either of these two, just like that. So let's say on our next turn, somebody played a red card, and they would take Mickey away from us. But then it comes back to us. Let's say we draw a card and we play a red Pluto. Because it's red, we get to take Mickey back, and now we could use either one of these. If you have any red cards in play, which we do, we can draw and play an extra card right now. So let's say we draw an extra card, and we play it like this. Boom, we got 6, 7, 8. We score again. We take this here. We keep this here just like this. Now, when it's our turn, if we have Mickey, we could use either of these two powers that's in front of us or this one. And if you ever get a third power card, that means you've scored 3 times and you win. That's pretty much how you play the game. Now in this deck, there are regular cards that when you play, the Mickey card will actually do something. Like when played, treat cards of this color as any color. So even some of the normal cards, the Mickey cards, have a little bit of power on them. Now let me show you a couple more of these power cards. Treat purple cards as any color. Or guess a color, discard the top card of the deck. If it matches, play that card. Discard the top card of the deck. If you have no cards in play that matches that card's color or number, play it. So all sorts of different powers that come up, and there's a ton of these, even in just this single deck. Now in the Aladdin Something Wild deck, here are the normal playing cards that you'd play with: Genie, Aladdin, Jasmine, Raja, Abu, Carpet, Sultan, Iago, and Jafar. But when you play the Genie card, you can guess a color and a number, discard the top card of the deck. If it matches both, you score. Really hard to do, but you might do it once in a great while. Now here are the power cards for the Genie and the Genie character here. They do different things too, like if you have any purple cards in play, play one of the top 3 cards in the discard pile. Or if you have any 2s in play, draw and play an extra card. Or maybe guess a number, discard the top card of the deck. If it matches, play that card. Or score with any 3 cards that add up to 6 or less. Now with the Toy Story deck, we have Woody, Buzz Lightyear, Bo Peep, Jessie, Rex, Slinky Dog, Alien, Bullseye, and Ham. And when you play Woody, if you have no other cards in play that match this color, you get to draw and play an extra card. So a little power just for the Woody card itself. Now here is the little Woody character and the different powers that, again, there's a whole deck here. You could score any 3 cards that add up to 13 with this power, or discard the top card of the deck. If you have any cards in play that match that card's number, you get to play it. Or all players pass a card in the hand to the next player. Or score with any 3 odd cards. So all sorts of different things here, again, many cards. Now I mentioned that you could mix multiple decks together, 2 or 3 or more. Now what you do is you take all the normal play cards and you mix them into one large deck. Then each of the powers are going to be separated out by its character, and the game is played very similarly. For example, if I were to play a card and I were to play, let's say, this purple one in front of me, I would take Woody because there is a purple one next to Woody. So I would take Woody and I would be able to use a power that's from Woody. So I could use this one, or only Woody powers that are in front of me. Or if I played a yellow card in front of me, I could take either the Genie or Mickey because both of these are yellow. I couldn't take both. So let's say I play Raja, I could take this or this. Let's say I take this, I could use this power or any of the Genie powers that are in front of me. So sometimes you'll have powers from multiple different characters in front of you, and you've got to decide which one you want to take and when to take it. But there's also between 3 powers that are out here, and then possibly powers from different ones in front of you, depending on which character you want to take, and which ones you can use in front of you and which one here. It just adds another level of sort of thinking and depth to the game. All right, well, there is something wild. So let's first talk about these individually, then I'll talk about them as a set at the end. Now, these games, I like that now it looks like this Something Wild game actually came out years ago, just generically with no theme involved. And it looks like now they're bringing them back with different intellectual properties. And I like that they're choosing themes that are popular and that appeal to mass market. And I like that there's multiple themes to choose from. Now, I just showed you 3 of them on the video, but there's many more if you go out and look. There's, the evil villains, and there's all sorts of other ones that you can go check out. There's a handful of them. The Cat in the Hat is coming out soon, so all sorts of different ones. I like that there's a different variety, and usually you'll be able to find one that resonates with you. These games are great for what I call the Uno crowd, and these are players that are very casual game players that maybe their entire game playing is, they gather around the table and they play Uno when they travel or when they hang out after dinner or whatever. And maybe they've never played anything more strategic than that, and that's absolutely great. Now, these games I think are great for that crowd. because they have the simplicity of Uno, but they have more to think about, more decision spaces, different ways to mix sets together, but it's not that much more difficult than Uno, I'd say. I like that you're creating different kinds of sets. So you're either doing, you know, the sets where it's all the same number or runs. It's very simple. You're trying to do one thing or the other. And I like the thing that really sets these games apart from, say Uno, is that when you play the color of the card that's in the middle, you gain that figure. And now you're able to use that power. And I like that because you're not only using the power of possibly whatever card's on top that nobody owns, or possibly one that you've collected earlier from actually scoring one of those runs. So at the beginning of the game, your choices are a little bit more limited, but as the game goes on, you get one or two runs done, and you know, when you pull the character, you might have up to 3 different possible abilities that you can use in your turn. Of course, you're only using one of them, but again, it gives you more things to think about and more ways to play the game, and the complexity gets a little bit more as the game goes on. But don't get me wrong, this is not a complex game. It's still pretty simple, but it does start you easier and gives you more decisions as it goes on. And I love that you can mix the sets. It really does open the decision tree. Not only do you have more for variety, but you can mix 2 or 3 or more sets all at once and just play a huge game. Now, I've played this with in both casual settings and in settings with just gamers. And if you're playing it with just gamers, you put 3 sets together and you're constantly looking at 3 different possible figures to take with possible abilities. You can only use the abilities in front of you that have to do with that specific character. But you can, sometimes you'll play a color card and there's multiple cards up top that you'll be able to, take, one of the different characters there. So there is a lot more strategy in it. It's still not a deep game, I would say, but definitely it's a lot more crunchy than just the standard game if you mix, I'd say, 3 sets together. If you're new to this game and you've played a set once a bunch of times, put 1 more set in so it's just 2. That's a nice sort of even keel game that gives you even more decisions, but it's not too overly complicated. Gamers, you could probably throw 3 sets in. And it might even be a little tough to keep track of things at some time. So it does ramp up the difficulty a little bit there. On the negative side of things, some of the rules on some of the cards are a little ambiguous, and there's not a lot of sort of forum posts on Board Game Geek about them, especially when you're mixing sets and things like that. They could have been a little bit more clear on some of the rules. Not the end of the world, but a negative there. And if you're going to buy this and you want this to be something that's going to be in your heavy rotation, again, if you're part of the Uno crowd or you play Uno weekly or multiple times a week, in order to play this, I'd say multiple times for long periods of time, you'd probably want to get multiple sets to keep things interesting. But those are 2 sort of nitpicks there. I think if you're in that mass market crowd, or if you're a gamer that wants to play a very light filler game but still has some things to think about with mixing multiple sets, but things that you can take as a single package to people that haven't played anything but Uno and have this be fun and actually ramp it up with some more things, I think this is a good choice, and that is Something Wild.